3 Ram engines can run past 300,000 miles. 2 of them Chrysler stopped building. The rest I rebuild for a living. I am Brian, 12 years as a Mopar dealer tech and 28 years under the hood. Today, I am breaking down the Ram engines I would actually trust, the ones I would tell my own family to buy, and why some of them last longer than the trucks wrapped around them. If you own a Ram, or you are shopping for one, hit subscribe while you are here, because this channel is built to help owners avoid the wrong engines and keep the right ones alive. The first engine is the 5.9 Magnum built from 1993 to 2003. Pushrod design, 2 valves per cylinder, cast iron block, cast iron heads, no variable valve timing, no multi-displacement system, no cylinder deactivation, no cam phasers, and no complicated software calibration that gets confused every time the battery gets weak. This is one of the simplest gas V8 engines Chrysler ever put behind a Ram badge, and it is the one I tell customers to look for when they walk into my shop asking what actually lasts. Here is why it works. The block is overbuilt for the power it makes, around 245 horsepower and 335 pound-feet of torque. By modern standards, those numbers do not sound exciting, but that is exactly the point. The Magnum spends most of its life running at a comfortable percentage of its mechanical capacity. The bearings are not constantly being pushed to the edge. The pistons are not living under extreme cylinder pressure. The cylinder walls are thick, the rotating assembly is strong, and the whole engine was built around old Chrysler LA engine family ideas that had already been proven for decades. What kills most modern engines is complexity. Cam phasers fail, high-pressure injection systems wear out, cylinder deactivation lifters collapse, turbo systems add heat and pressure. The Magnum does not deal with any of that. It has a single camshaft in the block, a basic pushrod valve train, and a layout a good technician can rebuild with a service manual and a normal tool set. That simplicity is not a weakness. It is the reason these engines are still alive. And it is not just the 5.9. The 5.2 Magnum, the 318 cubic inch version in the same engine family, shares the same basic architecture and much of the same reliability story. It makes less power, but it has the same honest, tough, old-school engineering. If you find a clean 5.2 Magnum with documented maintenance, do not ignore it just because it is not the bigger engine. You may be looking at the same durability for less money. Both engines also have a trait that a lot of modern engines lost. They are not picky. Conventional oil, synthetic blend, full synthetic. The Magnum is not sitting there demanding some narrow specialty fluid just to survive. It was built in an era when a truck engine was supposed to tolerate real working owners. Change the oil on schedule, keep clean coolant in it, and it will usually keep doing its job. You do not need magic additives, expensive engine treatments, or some miracle bottle from the parts store. Basic maintenance is enough. I have had 5.9 Magnums come into my shop with 280,000 miles on the clock, original engine, never opened, asking for a water pump and a set of plug wires, running cleaner than some Hemis I have worked on with half the mileage. That is not nostalgia. That is what overbuilt engineering looks like 20 years later. The proof is still on the road. Magnum-powered Ram 1500s with 250,000 miles are normal. 300,000 miles is common enough that nobody in the Mopar crowd is shocked anymore. 350,000 happens often enough that people just ask what transmission it is on. The frame rusts before the engine quits. The dashboard cracks before the engine quits. The seats split, the body panels rot, the interior wears out, and the engine keeps running. The most common reason a 5.9 Magnum gets retired is not the engine. It is the rest of the truck giving up around it. But there is one thing that can kill these engines, and that is overheating mixed with neglect. If you let the cooling system go for years, the radiator corrodes inside, the thermostat sticks, the water pump gets weak, and eventually the engine cooks itself. Cast iron heads on a cast iron block can tolerate a lot, but sustained overheating will damage anything. One bad overheating event can compromise the head gasket or hurt the casting. Cooling system maintenance every few years and regular oil changes are most of the longevity plan. That is it. Change the oil, change the coolant, fix leaks early, do not cook it. The Magnum will do the rest. There is one more thing every honest mechanic has to mention, because the Mopar crowd will call it out if I do not. The intake manifold on these engines uses a two-piece design with a cast aluminum top and a stamped steel plenum plate underneath. The gasket between them can fail because the aluminum and steel expand at different rates every time the engine heats and cools. When that gasket lets go, the engine can start pulling oil through the intake. You may see oil consumption, pinging under load, a fouled number 8 spark plug, and some lost power. It sounds scary, but it is not the end of the engine. A thicker aftermarket aluminum plenum plate replaces the weak factory steel piece and seals the problem for good. It is usually a few $100s in parts and labor depending on how it is done, and once that repair is handled, the Magnum's last real weakness is mostly gone. If you buy one, ask if the plenum has been fixed. If it has, that is a big plus. There is a reason you do not hear dealerships praising the 5.9 Magnum anymore. Dealers make money on engines that need repairs. Service revenue comes from rebuilds, replacements, and repeat visits. An engine that runs for 300,000 miles on basic maintenance does not create a lot of labor hours. The Hemi brings people into the shop. The Magnum usually does not. That is not conspiracy talk. That is just how service department math works. The cost story makes the Magnum even better. A full rebuild on a 5.9 Magnum, if you ever actually need one, usually costs far less than a modern Hemi rebuild. Parts are cheaper, the layout is simpler, and the design goes back to the engines that built Chrysler's truck reputation in the first place. Clean 5.9 Magnum trucks can still be found at reasonable prices compared with newer Rams. And if the body is solid, the service history is real, and the engine has not been overheated, you may be looking at one of the best used Ram buys left. The best engine Chrysler ever built may be one they stopped making. If that changes how you think about your next Ram purchase, hit subscribe and drop a comment with your truck's year and mileage. I want to see the long runners in the comments, especially the ones still running original engines. The second engine is the 5.7 Hemi. Now stay with me here. After everything I have said about lifter failures, cam damage, and Hemi tick problems, you might expect me to leave the Hemi off any list with the word last in the title. But the truth is more complicated. The Hemi belongs on this list if you buy the right years and maintain it the right way. Here is how the years break down. The pre-variable valve timing era from 2003 through 2008 is generally the safest Hemi to buy. The danger zone is 2009 through 2016, with 2012 through 2014 being some of the years I am most careful with. That is when Chrysler added variable valve timing to the Hemi without fully solving the oiling demands around it, and the roller lifters that control cylinder deactivation started seeing inconsistent lubrication at low engine speeds. Wear built up quietly. By 120,000 miles, some camshafts were getting gouged, lifters were failing, and owners were staring at repair bills that could reach $8,000 to $12,000 out of warranty. I rebuilt enough of these at the dealer to know when the patterns started showing up. The pre-variable valve timing Hemi is different. The multi-displacement system came to Ram trucks in 2006, but without variable valve timing, the oiling demands were not the same as the later engines. The cam profile was fixed, oil pressure behavior was more stable, and the lifter wear pattern that destroyed later engines was not as common in the same way. Same basic family, same general architecture, but a different reliability outcome because Chrysler had not yet added the extra complexity that later created problems. Now, with later variable valve timing Hemis, I have to be straight with you. There is a myth that one magic model year fixed everything. Chrysler made changes over time, and newer engines are better than the worst of the 2012 to 2014 batch. But the cylinder deactivation lifter never fully stopped being the weak point. I have pulled failed lifters out of trucks built much later. Anyone who tells you one specific year solved everything is selling you comfort, not truth. What separates a Hemi that reaches 300,000 miles from one that fails at 120,000 is usually the way the owner treats the lifters, oil, heat, and driving habits. When one of these engines rolls into my shop for a serious build, the first thing I want to address is the factory multi-displacement lifters. Many performance builders use non-MDS style lifters and disable the system properly in the tune. Done correctly, that removes one of the engine's biggest weak points. Done cheaply or incorrectly, it creates a different problem. So if you go that route, use a shop that actually knows Hemis. What kills Hemis is predictable. Cylinder deactivation lifter cycling, stretched oil change intervals, thin oil used too long under hard conditions, and cold start abuse. Those failures are often tied to owner habits as much as engine design. Run high-quality full synthetic oil, change it around every 5,000 miles if you want the engine to live, and do not blindly trust long intervals just because the dashboard says you still have oil life left. A lot of experienced Hemi owners also use tow haul mode more often than the average driver. The reason is simple. It helps hold lower gears and keeps engine speed up, which can reduce time spent in the low RPM cruise range where cylinder deactivation likes to cycle. I am not saying every owner has to drive like that every second, but if your goal is long life, you want to keep that engine properly lubricated, properly warmed up, and away from lazy low RPM lugging as much as possible. Service the cooling system regularly. Do not wait until something leaks. Do not ignore a lazy thermostat. Do not let the water pump go until it leaves you stranded. Hemis do not enjoy heat abuse, and once cooling efficiency drops, oil temperature rises, gaskets suffer, and the entire engine lives a harder life. There are two more Hemi items owners forget. First, spark plugs. Many Hemi engines use 16 spark plugs, 2 per cylinder, and a lot of owners do not find that out until a shop quotes the job. Replace them when they are due. Do not stretch them just because the truck still starts. Weak spark hurts fuel economy, throttle response, and combustion quality. Second, exhaust manifold bolts. The Hemi is known for snapping manifold bolts, especially on the passenger side, after years of heat cycling. You usually hear it first as a tick on cold start that fades once the engine warms up. Catch it early and it is a manageable repair. Ignore it and you can end up with broken studs buried in the head, warped manifolds, and a job that costs much more than it should have. I have seen the difference in my shop. The Hemis that reach 300,000 miles are almost always the trucks where the owners stay disciplined from day one. Clean oil, short intervals, cooling system service, spark plugs done on time, exhaust leaks fixed early, and no cheap tunes. The Hemis that die early are usually the ones where the owner trusted the oil life monitor, never thought about cylinder deactivation, and only opened the hood when something started making noise. Same engine family, same castings, same basic hardware, completely different outcome because the person behind the wheel treated it differently. I had a 2018 Hemi roll through my shop with over 200,000 miles, original lifters, original cam, and still running strong. The owner kept records for everything. Oil every interval, good filters, no neglect. That truck proved the Hemi can last. It just refuses to carry an owner who does not carry it back. A neglected Hemi can cost $8,000 to $12,000 to rebuild. A maintained Hemi costs the price of good oil and a filter every few thousand miles. That is the difference. Not luck, not magic, discipline. The Hemi is not a bad engine. It is an engine that punishes neglect harder than some older Chrysler engines did. Treat it right, and it can cross 300,000 miles. Trust the dashboard and ignore the weak points, and it may not see 200. The third engine is the 5.9 Cummins turbo diesel. I know a lot of people watching are gas truck owners, but stay with me because this is the engine you buy if towing seriously becomes part of your life, or if you want a motor that can outlive almost everything bolted around it. The 5.9 Cummins was built from 1989 through 2007. The 12-valve version ran through 1998. The 24-valve replaced it and ran until 2007, when emissions regulations pushed Chrysler toward the 6.7 Cummins. This engine is a huge reason Ram has the truck reputation it has today. Inline-6 turbo diesel layout, cast iron block, forged crankshaft, strong connecting rods, and cylinder walls thick enough to handle serious life. This engine was designed originally for industrial and medium-duty work, not just pickup duty. Agricultural equipment, generator sets, pumps, and commercial applications all shaped what the Cummins was before Chrysler put it in a truck. That is why it feels overbuilt in a pickup. It was never really designed like a light-duty engine. The inline-6 design is naturally smooth because of its firing order and balance. It does not fight itself the way some V engines do. The crankshaft sees steady loading, the bearings live a more consistent life, and the engine makes torque at low engine speeds without needing to rev hard. Highway cruising barely stresses it. Towing pulls it into its comfort zone instead of out of it. The engine spends most of its life using only a fraction of what it is mechanically capable of doing. There is a reason the 12-valve Cummins has almost mythical status. The 1994 through 1998 trucks use the Bosch P7100 injection pump. Fully mechanical fuel delivery. No computer controlling the pump. No software deciding whether the engine gets fuel. Once it is running, it can keep running with electrical problems, that would shut a modern truck down instantly. That simplicity is why people still chase these trucks decades later. The one famous weak point is the killer dowel pin. It is a small pin behind the timing gear cover that can back out over time. If it falls into the gears, it can cause serious damage. But the issue is well known, cheap to address early, and most serious 12-valve owners already know about it. Handle that, keep clean fluids in it, and the engine itself is extremely hard to kill. Pair the Cummins with one of the manual transmissions Chrysler offered behind it, like the NV4500 or the NV5600, and you remove one of the biggest failure points these trucks had. No automatic transmission overheating, no valve body failures, no torque converter problems, just a clutch that gets replaced when it wears out. The later Common Rail 5.9 from 2003 to 2007 brought more modern injection, quieter operation, and better drivability while keeping the same overbuilt foundation. It added electronics that the 12-valve never had, which is why purists still chase the older trucks. But even the Common Rail 5.9 can outlast almost anything gasoline Chrysler built during the same era. Different fuel system, same strong bottom end. The mileage proof sounds fake until you see the receipts. 500,000 miles on an original Cummins engine is normal in that community. 700,000 is not shocking. 1 million miles on an original block has been documented more than once. The cult following around the 12-valve Cummins exists because the engine actually delivers what the owners claim. It is not hype. It is an industrial-grade power plant doing pickup truck duty for decades. The thing that kills these trucks usually is not the engine. It is the transmission bolted behind it. The 47RE and 48RE automatics often fail long before the engine does. Sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times. I have had Cummins-powered Rams roll into my shop with 600,000 miles on the engine, original turbo still spinning, and a transmission that had already been rebuilt more than once. That is the common story. The engine outlives the drivetrain wrapped around it. When the automatic does fail, the rebuild can cost $3,000 to $5,000, and owners still pay it because the engine in front of it is worth saving. That tells you everything. People do not rebuild transmissions behind engines they do not trust. They do it because the Cummins still has life left. The other weak points are mostly in the fuel system. The lift pump on some 24-valve trucks is known for failing. Aftermarket fuel systems can solve that. Injectors wear after high mileage. The VP44 pump on certain years has its own problems. But these are known, predictable issues. The block, head, crankshaft, and rotating assembly are not usually what give up on a maintained Cummins. They just keep going. Clean 12-valve Cummins trucks from the 90s can sell for $20,000 to $30,000 today, sometimes even more depending on condition. That is more than many of them cost new. The market understands what these engines are. The supply is limited because Chrysler stopped building this generation, and demand keeps climbing because nothing built since has matched that same mix of simplicity, strength, and long-term reputation. You buy a gas Ram for what it is worth today. You buy the right Cummins for what it may still be worth 20 years from now, because there is a good chance it will still be running. So that is the list. 3 engines, 3 different stories. 1 simple gas V8 that Chrysler should have kept building, 1 Hemi that can absolutely last if the owner respects its weak points, and 1 diesel that outlasts almost everything attached to it. If this video helped you, hit like and subscribe before you leave. I cover the Ram engines worth buying, the ones to avoid, and the mistakes that can cost owners thousands. Next week, I am breaking down the 3 Ram engines I would never let a customer buy, the ones that roll into my shop already dying. Subscribe so you do not miss it. That is it from the shop. See you then.